Hey guys, we are in the basement and today we're going to do part number 5 of the Pac-Man restoration. That is right, we're going to go to the garage and work on Pac-Man. I know you guys have been waiting for part number 5 and well, here it is. And you know what, this is a pretty long episode, jam-packed full of useful information, and especially when we're talking about the problematic stuff that's on Pac-Man, like the edge connector and the fuse blocks. We're also going to learn how to crimp molex connectors and all kinds of other stuff in this video. But before we go to the garage, I do want to mention that October 18th and 19th, I will be doing a live show and high score contest at Grinker's Grand Palace in Eagle, Idaho, which is just outside Boise. So if you guys are on the West Coast and the Northwest, I really hope you guys can make it to this event. It's going to be a lot of fun. And like I said, we're going to be doing a high score tournament on Saturday and Friday, and then we're going to be doing a live podcast, my podcast, Arcade Outsiders. We're going to be doing a live show Saturday night from Grinkers. It's really going to be a great time. And also, when I'm there, I'll be doing a bunch of John's Arcade videos. So this is a great opportunity to hang out with other like-minded enthusiasts and me, quite frankly, and also my co-hosts, Joe and Fett from Arcade Outsiders. Go to grinkers.com to learn all about Grinkers Arcade, and also arcadeoutsiders.com to learn about my podcast and the event. Okay, guys, that's it. Why don't we go to the garage and let's get working on that Pac-Man. All right, guys, here is the Pac-Man. Here's where it stands today. So in the last video, let's do a quick little review. In the last video, we got the game working, okay? And it turned out it wasn't actually a PCB issue that was causing the game not to work. It was actually a problem with the molex connector on the harness where it connects to the PCB that was causing the game to reset. It was not a good connection. The molex connector was worn. So in this video, we're going to replace that molex connector, and I'll show you guys how to crimp molex pins and all that. Also, I do want to address the fuse block at the bottom of the cabinet, so hopefully we'll get to that in this video. And the other thing I want to talk about is, look at this. I got a marquee. Oh my God. So my friend Scoots, who's a really awesome guy, he hooked me up with this marquee, and look at this. There's not a single little chip in it or a scratch on the back. This is a great marquee. So this was the last piece of the puzzle for me. And also, since the last video, I also ordered this vinyl from Hong Kong. It was about $48 total for this vinyl. It should be here probably in a week or so. So I now have everything I need to complete this project. And the vinyl I ordered, I covered this in the last video, actually in another video, but if you go on eBay and you do a search for MW7552 and then the word vinyl, so MW7552 vinyl, you will find this vinyl here, and it's a Hong Kong seller. It is an okay match. It's a little bit darker than the original vinyl. This back here is the original vinyl. So this vinyl I ordered is a little bit darker, but the price is right. So I just kind of went for it. Now the 3M stuff was definitely a better vinyl. It was a better match, but the 3M stuff was like $240. Here's the 3M. The 3M really matches great, you know. But I just could not bring myself to spend the money for this because this stuff is $30 a foot. I needed about 8 feet. It's a 48-inch roll. It would have cost me about $240 to do this versus this slightly darker stuff from Hong Kong, which is about $44. So I saved about $200 by going with this stuff. So, you know what? Once the game's in the basement, I think this is going to look just fine. This looks like some pretty nice vinyl, actually. It has a little wood grain texture in it. If you can see that, the little debossed lines in there. So we're going to get this soon, and we'll be doing the vinyl. So I think the first thing I want to do today, though, is I want to actually address this marquee. And also, I did get a new old stock control panel overlay, too. And we might get to the control panel in this video, I'm not sure. So here's the deal. So I searched and searched and searched for a nice original Pac-Man marquee, okay? And it turned out it was actually kind of hard to find. A lot of the Cabaret marquees that were out there had a lot of scratches and missing ink on the back. And the reason I think for this is because they use incandescent bulbs in here, okay? So behind this are incandescent bulbs. It's not a fluorescent bulb, which a lot of games use. You know, Taito did this a lot. A lot of their games had incandescent bulbs behind the marquee, and you'll find a lot of Taito marquees are just burnt up from. They're burnt up from the bulbs. So what I'm going to do right here, I just want to show you guys. I'm gonna remove all the screws from the top and just kind of show you what I'm talking about. And it's actually kind of easy to get to the marquee on this game. I don't know if these were the original screws. It seems like they would have used security screws, but not the case here. Where'd my bit go? Oh, it's inside. Okay. All right. And so I'm going to just pop these screws off, and I kind of want to see how the marquee looks on the game. And I think we're going to put some triple thick on it just to kind of be safe. I think it might help the game a little bit. It might help the marquee a little bit because these little bulbs get hot and they just start working. They start eating away at the ink. Okay, so there you can see the incandescent bulbs. It looks like there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 bulbs, and there's actually 1 out right there. This was a Pac-Man Plus marquee that was in there. Actually, this is in good shape. I think that marquee actually might be kind of rare. I don't know. You don't see a lot of Pac-Man Plus cabarets out there, so I think I'm going to hold on to this marquee. Who knows, maybe down the road I'll get a Pac-Man Plus board and I'll throw it in there to mix things up. So this bulb right here is out, and these are like, what kind of bulbs are these? Are these 12 volts or? I'm not sure. I'm trying to find a number on these. These bulbs are, I'm going to grab some bulbs here and just make sure that this one is, make sure the problem here is not the socket or power, and it actually is the bulb that's bad. I tell you what, let me go in the basement and let me find some bulbs here to replace the burnt out one. But these should be, I think, 44s. I'm trying to find a number on these. Are these 555s? I always get the 44s and the 555s confused. I always forget which one's the bayonet style and which one is the screw-on type. So anyway, I'm going to go in the basement. I'm going to get some bulbs here, and let's just get all these bulbs working. Actually, I'm going to replace all of them, and I will be right back with some bulbs. Okay, I went in the basement and got some bulbs. I actually got some 555 bulbs, which are bulbs that look like the bulbs that are in here, and these are basically kind of standard pin bulbs. You know, they're little, I guess we'll call these bayonet style here. They just kind of plug in. They don't screw in. But the thing I'm curious about, and I'm not sure, is I want to know if this is 5 volts, because these are 5 volt bulbs, and this is 12 volts. It's going to burn these out. Now, I suppose I could look at the schematic or something and verify it, or read the manual to just kind of see if these are supposed to be 5 or 12 volts. What I'm going to do is just take my multimeter here real quick, and I'm just going to measure the voltage right here to see if this is 5 volts, and if it is, then I know the 555s are okay. And I just, for whatever reason, I pull these bulbs out. I can't find any kind of label on them, so I'm not sure what they are. So I'm going to pull the burnt out one out, and I'm just going to take my multimeter, and I'm just going to read the voltage here, and I'm not getting anything, huh? I think I need to go like this. Huh. Not getting any kind of reading here. Let's try it. Let's put it on auto. Okay, I put it on AC. It's actually 11 volts AC that's coming through there. That's interesting. Okay, so 11 volts AC. Huh. Weird. Okay. So it's dumping AC up here, which I guess makes sense because this game doesn't have a power supply. So it's sending 11 volts AC up here. So we cannot use the 555s. Now I'm guessing, now I do have some other bulbs that are like this, which are, oh, what number are these? I ripped off the thing. These are These are 161s, and these are 12-volt bulbs. So I know I could put this in here. So there you go. Now, if I were to put a 555 in there, which was what I was going to do initially, it would have just burnt out because it can't handle the volts. So here, let me sacrifice a 555. See how bright that is? Look at that. It's gonna burn out here in a second. Holy crap, is that bright? So yeah, you cannot use 555s in here because we tested the voltages. It was 11 volts AC. So we got to use 12-volt bulbs, and the bulbs that I usually buy for that are 161s. And God, my eyes are burning. That was so bright. So I'm going to go ahead and actually just replace all of these, just so we kind of start fresh. So we'll just go ahead and replace all those bulbs. And now we've got some fresh bulbs up here. And this is pretty unusual to have these incandescent bulbs, I think. I think a lot of games don't, and they have fluorescent bulbs in them. For whatever reason, on these cabarets, maybe they thought there wasn't enough room. I'm looking at these old bulbs trying to figure out if there's a number on them. Because these actually don't look as bright as the original ones, do they? Yeah, I guess they're about the same. Yeah. All right, so we got the 161s in there, and I always have the 161s on hand when I come across 12 volts at a coin door. And so you can see how it's going to light up. Yeah, looks okay. Not super bright, so we should actually grab the Pac-Man one. And let's take a look how this looks. So you can see the game's starting to look like Pac-Man. Pretty exciting, huh? So what I do want to do, though, is this is just kind of extra preventative maintenance here. I want to spray some triple thick on the back of this marquee. Now, this is not mandatory by any means, but I like to do this on games that kind of have problematic marquees or incandescent bulbs behind them. I just don't want to risk the paint flaking off the back of this marquee, and this is kind of going overboard. You don't really need to do this on especially plexi marquees. It seems that the marquees that flake the most are the glass ones. Those are usually the ones that you really want to put the triple thick on. You usually don't have issues with plexi marquees, but I'm telling you, when I was looking for this marquee, I saw a ton of them that were just all flaky and chipped on the back, and I'm not sure if that's from the incandescent bulbs, but you know what, I'm just not going to take the chance. I'm just going to spray the back of this with triple thick, which is going to pretty much put a protective layer, a clear layer over this. So why don't I get set up here? Actually, the triple thick is over here, and you can get this at Walmart, okay? And this is Krylon Triple Thick Crystal Clear Glaze. And I'll use this all the time on marquees and back glasses, bezels, you know, things that are starting to flake or have flaked. I'll put this down to kind of stop the flaking further. And then I'll also put this on marquees that are kind of known for flaking and chipping, just to kind of give them an extra layer of protection. So, and all I'm going to do here is I'm going to turn this box over. Actually, I'm just gonna kind of take the marquee, and I'm just gonna hit that with some triple thick, and I'll probably do a couple coats, and let it dry. I'll do one coat, and then let it dry, and then I'll come back and do another coat. And this really does protect the ink. Just gives it an extra layer of protection, and it's really not a bad idea. There's no harm in doing this. And I'm kind of putting it on thick here, so. All right, so that's a nice layer. I'll let that dry probably for a half hour or so, or 15 minutes, and then come back with a second coat. And that way, when I handle this marquee, I don't really have to worry about it so much because it has that triple thick on there, so. Okay, so that's that. We got the marquee lights all working. I'll probably come in here with some simple green and clean this up. It's a little dirty. I'm not quite ready to do that yet, but what I want to do now is I want to address the molex connector, okay, the edge connector on the harness and where it meets the PCB, because it's flaky. And let me kind of illustrate for you guys what's going on. Right now, I have the PCB kind of leaning away from the wall, okay? And it's putting some tension on those wires, and which is actually making a better connection, but it's not proper. The PCB should be against the wall. And if I were to actually move this, okay, the game will reset. You see that? Look at that, okay? That's because that edge connector is flaky. The molex connector on the harness, and then now if I pull it back away from the wall, it puts some tension on the wires, and now look at that, the game reset is working again. So, and let me kind of show you guys what we're talking about. Now, this is a known weakness on these Midway games, and especially the Pac-Mans. Okay, so what we're talking about here is this black connector right here. You see that? And this is what meets up with the edge connector on the PCB, and it's a molex style connector. It's a 44-pin connector. And for whatever reason, Midway seemed to use really cheap pins on these connectors that just kind of stretch and lose their grip on the board, and so you start getting these issues. And also, there's AC going through here, and I think that these connectors kind of start burning up over time as well. So it's always a good idea to replace the molex edge connector with new fresh pins and even a fresh new housing. And let me kind of show you what's going on over here. So what I did is I went to Bob Roberts, the real Bob Roberts, and I ordered his little kit, and he calls it the Pac Fuse Block plus Molex 2244. And this little kit comes with pretty much replacement parts for the most problematic items on the Pac-Man, and that's the edge connector. This is the plastic housing for the edge connector. It's a 44-pin. You have 22 on each side, and then it also comes with the molex pins that go into that connector, okay? And they come on a strip. Sometimes you'll buy them loose like this. You see that? The molex pins come like that. And sometimes you buy them on a strip and you have to break them off. These are 0.156 trifurcon style connectors, and these are specifically designed to kind of grip onto the pads on a PCB. All right, you see that? Okay, and then the other thing that comes in this little kit is new fuse blocks, and we're going to be replacing those as well. And again, this was a weak point on these Pac-Man games and other Midway games. And when the fuse blocks go bad, you're getting some resistance, okay? These things get corroded and dirty, and the AC that's going to the board just isn't as good as it can be. It's not as clean as it could be, and it might be losing some juice because there's resistance here, okay? And so you can replace the fuse blocks, and it's not going to actually be that easy to do because of where it is, but we're going to do that in this video, and we'll try to figure out a way to do this kind of without breaking our back, because it's all the way in the bottom of the cabinet, and doesn't look like it's going to be easy to remove that whole transformer base. But anyway, we'll get to that later. Right now, I want to talk about the molex, okay? And I want to just kind of show you guys close up what we're going to be doing. Let me set up a tripod here, and let's talk about how to crimp a molex pin. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking the original connector that's in the cabinet, and we're going to be cutting the wires off of the connector one at a time, and then attaching them to new pins, and then dropping them into a new housing. And we're going to do that one at a time, okay? And we're going to take our time with it. But when we do this, we're going to need some special tools to do this crimping. Now, in the past, I used to crimp all of my molex pins with these, okay? And it's not the right tool, but you can do it, all right? And it's torture, it's slow, there's a lot of trial and error, and it's just not fun. Now, Buffett, who's a listener of my podcast, his name's Arcade Buffett. He heard me talking about this on my podcast, and he agreed to lend me his molex crimper. Now, this is the right tool to do the job, and I'll show you guys how this works in a second. But the thing about this tool that always prevented me from buying this is that this tool retails for $140. Would you believe it? So I never invested in one of these because it's just too damn expensive. Now, there's low-cost alternatives to this tool out there that you can find on the internet, but really, this is the king of all those tools. And this particular one is HTR 2445A. HTR 2445A, okay? And you can find this tool on eBay for about $50, and I think I'm going to be buying one soon. And what's cool about this tool also is that it's ratcheting, and I'll show you why that's important here in a second, okay? And so when you crimp molex connectors, what you're doing essentially, and let me pull one from this thing here. Let me kind of show you guys close up, and hopefully this will work. Okay, do you guys see, let me get like something to point with this. Okay, so, all right, so do you guys see here on this molex connector, we have two little set of fins here, okay? There's a set there, and there's a set there. Let me turn it over like this, if you can see that. There's a set of fins right here, and a set of fins right here. And the idea here is that we're going to insert our wire into this pin, okay? And then we need to fold over these set of fins, okay? And the large set of fins in the back is designed to grip onto the sheath, the plastic shielding that's on the wire. And then the fins in the front are designed to grip onto the wire, okay? And what you do is you strip the wire, you stick the wire with the sheath on here, you crimp this down to the wire itself, and then you crimp this down into the sheath, and then after you do that, you should have a really nice solid connection, okay? And I used to crimp down these little fins with needle nose pliers in the past, and it's very slow going. It's just not easy to do because you're trying to crimp this and crimp that and fold it over, and it's not good. Like I said, there's just a lot of trial and error and all that. So let me show you guys close up here what we're going to be doing inside the cabinet, okay? So what you want to do, so let's pretend like, you know, this is the old molex connector right here, you know. So here's our old molex connector. It looks something like this, and we're going to come in here, we're going to cut this wire off, okay? And then we're going to strip it back, okay? I'm going to take my wire strippers, and you only want to strip it back about 1/8 of an inch or so, okay? You don't need to strip it back much at all. So that right there, you can see we stripped it back about 1/8 of an inch, okay? And then what you do is you take your tool here, and by the way, I'm showing you this using the proper tool. And so you take the tool here, and this particular one says A and B, okay? And that's for two different size molex pins, okay? So A on this tool is the one you want to use. This one works great with the 0.156 pins, okay? I believe the B is for there's smaller pins like 0.84, 0.93. Let me see if I can show you guys an example of those. I got some in my little, here's a smaller one. And this one I actually already crimped when I was testing it, but so these are the smaller pins here. These are like I want to say 0.84, and this is 0.156. And most of these that you're going to encounter, I think, are going to be the 0.156, and that's what we're going to do right now. So on this tool, okay, this particular model number, A, is perfectly sized for the 0.156 pins. And what we're going to do is you're just going to kind of come in here from the back, and we're going to rest, if you guys can see this, there's like a little shelf on here, okay? And it's actually designed to crimp both of these fins at the same time. And so what we want to do essentially is just kind of rest this on the shelf like so. Do you see that? With this part, the part that grips onto the PCB, hanging off the back and not inside the jaws, okay? We don't want to crimp that. We want to crimp these fins, okay? So I'm hanging that off the back, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put it on this shelf. I'm going to have the little contact area hanging off the back, and I'm just going to kind of ratchet it down, okay, till it's held in place, okay? You see that? So right there, it's held in place, and that's how it should look. And right now, it's ready to receive the wire and be crimped. And you can see that's why this ratcheting tool is so great, because it can hold that piece. A lot of these tools, they're either open or they're closed. You have to close them with great force and then let go, and they spring back. This one ratchets, so you can kind of ratchet it down, and look at that. It just holds the piece, the part in place, and you can freely now grab the wire. Okay, so then we take our wire, and what we want to do is we want to stick it inside here, like so, okay? And we want to stick it in until it kind of meets the back, and then once it's in there, now we're going to come here and we're going to crimp it down till it releases. And just like that, okay? So now you could see, look at that. We have a perfect crimp there, okay? The back set of fins is perfectly clamped down onto the sheath. The front set of fins here, actually, you know what? I inserted it too far. I did. Because it's still making contact and this will still work. But the front ones here, I went too far in. Let's try that again. Let's see if we can do a better one. So, and it's a good idea that you practice this before you do it, which is what I'm doing right now, okay? So there we go, we stripped our wire, okay? So let's grab a molex pin. And so we're gonna kind of stick it on the shelf here. And I'm gonna crimp that down till it can stand on its own, okay? So now I'm gonna take my wire, and when you insert it in, I guess you don't really want to go as far. I want to just kind of stop. I want the sheathing only to be on the large set there. Okay. On the large set of fins. Okay, that one is much better. Okay, so now if we look here, you can see, I don't know if you guys can see that. So the small fins in the front are grabbing onto the wire, which is what it should be doing, and the large fins in the back are grabbing onto the sheath, and that is on there, like awesomely on there, okay? So that is how you crimp a molex connector. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna do that like 40 times. So what I'll do is I'll start doing a few of them and then we'll kind of cut away because this is going to be a very long and boring, tedious process here. So let's go get set up over here by the cabinet and let's start crimping those. Let's start crimping that edge connector on the game. All right, guys, real quick here. I just turned the game off, okay? And I unplugged it, you know, because we don't want to do this when the power's on. I pulled the PCB out, but I do want to show you guys one thing. When we do this, we need to kind of make sure that we remember how the connector goes on there, okay? Now, this is the PCB, okay? And this is called the parts side of the board, and this is the solder side, okay? And so all the parts are on this side, and we can use this as a way of orientation for the edge connector, okay? So the edge connector was like this, right? And so this plugged into the board at the top here, it plugged in right here, and so then this side of this molex connector is the parts side, okay? And what I want to do, just to be safe, is I'm going to label this the parts side, okay? And I'm also going to label this the parts side. That way we know, that way we don't get things mixed up while we're doing this, okay? And it kind of gives us a reference point, okay, as we're cutting the old wires off and reconnecting them. And so I'm going to go ahead and take my label maker, okay? And you know, I actually stole this idea from Bob Roberts. I think I read about this on Bob's website. And so what we're going to do here, this is not, okay, so what I'm going to do is, okay, so I know that this side of the molex connects to the parts side of the PCB. So I'm just going to kind of just label it parts. And then I'm going to do the same thing on our new connector. And that way when I'm transferring the wires from one to the next, I know what direction this is supposed to be in, okay? And I think it's just going to help us not confuse things, which is the key here as we're doing this, because we do not want to screw this up. Because if we put the wrong wire in the wrong hole on the new connector, that actually could be bad news. You know, we could be sending voltages. You know, this wire right here could be, 5 volts or 12 volts, whatever, and we could be dumping that into something that's looking for 5 volts, and we give them the wrong voltages, and it could fry parts and maybe destroy our board. So, okay, so here's our old connector. You can see it's labeled parts on that side, so we know that this is the parts side of the PCB when it's in here. And here's our new connector, okay? And you can look at the connector here, and there's two sides of it, okay? This side has a whole bunch of holes in it. This is where our molex pins are going to go in, okay? And then this side kind of is open like that, and that's where the teeth of the molex pins are going to be. And that's what grabs onto the PCB. So that means that we're going to be kind of like this, okay? And so I'm going to go ahead now and label our new one parts, all right, on this side. And you could see here how those match up, okay? And so we're basically then going to be removing the wires from here one at a time, crimping molex pins onto them, and then transferring to our new connector. Okay, so first things first here. Let me grab my tools and let's get started on this. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I have my tools here, and I'm going to need my side cutters, okay, my wire strippers, and I have these automatic ones I got at Radio Shack. I love these. You can see those right there. And I also then have my molex crimping tool. Okay, so I also am going to need my new molex pins, and as well as our new plastic connectors. So, all right, so what we're going to do, this is not going to be fun. This is going to be slow and tedious, because see all of these wires, every single one of them I'm going to cut from the old connector, repin, and then transfer to the new one. Okay, so the first one I'm going to do here is in the front left. I'm just going to go ahead and cut it. Okay, and there's no turning back now. God, this is going to suck. All right, so I just cut that one. That's the front left. And I'm going to go ahead and strip it. Okay. And I actually probably stripped it too far there, if you could see that. So I'm just going to trim it back a little bit. Alright. This is not fun, guys. I've been putting this off, I think, because it's not fun. This is not a fun thing to do. Okay, so we're going to take our tool, and I'm going to open it up. I'm going to take our new pin, and these are .156 Trifurcon pins. And I'm going to stick it in our tool here, like so. Okay, and then we're going to take our wire and stick that in here. And I don't know if you guys can see what's going on here. It's kind of a bad camera angle, but stick this in like so with our sheathing on the back, and we'll inspect our work, and I would say that was pretty good. Okay, so we've got our first one crimped, and now we just keep going. Just make sure that's on there good. I don't like how that's bent. Let me kind of inspect these pins. So I might have hit, did I hit the front one? I'm just trying to look. No, I don't think I did. Alright, so that's good. It's on there well. Okay, so after you crimp that, we're going to take our new plastic housing, and we're going to kind of line it up here. And we took that from the front left, okay? So I'm just going to put this in the same spot. Now, we got to kind of make sure, though, that this blade, okay, it needs to go towards the center, okay? I don't know if you can see that blade that's on there. This part right here that has a little line in it, okay, that needs to go towards the center of this, because this is the part that's going to make contact with the PCB. And basically it's just kind of like these two jaws that are kind of like this. Actually they're like this, right? And then the PCB just kind of goes in between them, and they just kind of grip onto it. So let's stick this in here. And we're going to stick it in the hole with that blade towards the front, towards the middle. And just push it in until it clicks. Because these can only go in one way. They've got little tabs. And I don't really like how that's in there. Doesn't look right to me. I just pulled it out. This is gonna suck, isn't it? I'm not looking forward to this. I don't like how this pin is. I'm gonna redo that. I just don't like how it's looking. It just doesn't look right to me. And this is the first one I've done here, so let's... Hopefully we have extra pins in here. Okay, so I'm going to take... I stripped the wire. I'm going to take my, my molex tool here. And, I just want to make sure that we... Just want to make sure we're not crimping... That we're not crimping the part that makes contact with the PCB. We only want to crimp those two fins. Okay? And we're going to take our wire and we're going to stick it in here like so, and then close it up. Okay, that looks like a way better crimp than the first one. The first one I did, I didn't like the way it looked. It was kind of bent. I think I kind of grabbed part of this, and I didn't want to do that. So I guess don't be afraid to redo it. That looks perfect to me. That looks beautiful. Okay, and so now let's go ahead and stick this in here. And it was the front left with the blade. Oh yeah, that's what seems way better. Yes, that's right. Okay, now it's sitting nicely in there. I think I had bent part of it. So when you crimp these, you really need to make sure you're hitting the fins and not the actual part that touches with the PCB. So there we go. We've got the first one in, and now we just kind of just keep going. So I think I'm going to do a few of these with you guys, and then we'll probably break away because this is going to get really boring watching this. Okay, so the next one is the front right, okay? So let's do the same thing. We're going to strip the wire about 1/8 of an inch. And we're going to crimp our... okay, so that looks pretty good, about 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to take one of my new pins here from this. I'm just basically just breaking it off like so. And I'm going to put it in my tool. Okay. And we're using the A, and I just really want to make sure that we're not touching. I just don't want to crimp any of this stuff back here, okay? I only want to crimp the fins that grab onto the wire. Okay, and then we're going to take this and we're going to stick it in like so. Okay, let's take a look. It's not bad. Our wire is a little messy. Might have been a little bit too long, but that looks like a pretty good. Where is it? I'm just really kind of being anal here, inspecting my work as I go along, because I really want to get this right the first time. And you know what? I think that the small one is grabbing onto... I'm redoing that. Because it looks like the small fin is actually grabbing onto the rubber sheath and not the wire, and I don't like that. So, I'm being extra anal, guys, and alright, so let's go ahead and strip our wire back. Okay. And I don't think you should be afraid to redo your work. I'm not. I want to do this right the first time. What I don't want to happen right now is I do all this work, I re-crimp all these, I plug it into the board, and now I've introduced a new problem, okay? So I'm just going to kind of go slow here. I'm going to take my time. I'm going to double check my work as I go along, and I'm going to try my best to get this right the first time. Okay, that's a much cleaner crimp. Okay, so, and then this one was from the front right, and again, we're going to push this in with those little jaws towards the center. Okay. All right, so you guys can see there, kind of give you a close-up. Maybe hopefully this will focus. You guys can see that right there. So you could see how that's looking, and that looks pretty sharp, right? And you could see how those kind of come together, and the PCB, the little teeth, the PCB will go into that, and that's what's going to grip onto it. So, all right, let's do a couple more together. And I guess this isn't that bad. It's just really slow going. So we're going to do the front left second one. But just take your time, do them one at a time. I'm sitting on a stool right now. I got a little stool. You know, get yourself comfortable. Because this is just slow going. It's not hard by any means. This isn't hard at all. It's just tedious. But I think having the right tool here is going to really save me some time in the long run, because I used to crimp these with just those pliers, and God, that sucked. Because I would screw them up more than I'm screwing them up now. Sorry about that. Okay. And we'll put this in here. And I just really want to make sure I don't crimp the business end of that. And that's perfect. I'm getting better at this. You got to really kind of back off and make sure that the sheath, the rubber, the plastic part of the wire is really back in the front of this tool here when you crimp down. Because if you go too far in with the bare wire, it is when I was kind of, it seems like that's when I was running into issues there. So let's go ahead, stick this guy in here, and it just clicks like so. Oh yeah, these are looking sexy. All right, so let's go ahead and do the next one. And just doing them one at a time. Okay. Get my wire strippers. And you really don't want to strip back much more than 1/8 of an inch, because if the wire gets all in there on the part that makes contact with the PCB, it just seems like that's when you get the weird crimps. Okay, so we've got our new pin. And we're just going to go ahead here and carefully crimp that down and stick our wire in. Inspect our work. Looks very good, real clean. And so this one is this one right here. Okay. So you can see there we've done 4 now. Let me kind of zoom in here. You guys can see that. But that's looking really good, right? So I'm going to keep going, doing this over and over and over again, and I'll come back here and check in with you guys in a little bit. So let me keep going, because this is just rinse and repeat, and boy is it boring. So I'll be back. All right, guys, we're kind of just cruising along here. I've done about, I don't know, 12 of them or so. The one thing you do want to pay attention of is that sometimes they skip holes on the connector here. I don't know if you guys can see that. So you can see here, right there, you can see that hole is skipped. So it'll go wire, 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 and then they skip a hole. You just got to pay attention to that stuff. And I'm actually kind of doing this in an order, just so I can kind of keep track of where I am. Basically, I'm just going right, left, right, left, right, left from this side back, okay? And that way I just kind of get in this little rhythm, like I know if I did left, then I need to do right, and just keep going all the way back doing it that way. Now, I did just encounter something right here, though, that is unique that I haven't experienced yet, and that is 2 wires, okay, in the same pin. So I have to cut both of these wires here, and then we're going to have to kind of crimp them onto one molex pin, and that might be a little bit tricky, so I thought maybe we'd do that on the camera here, just to see how it goes. And so let's go ahead and just kind of cut these wires. There's one of them, and let's grab the second one here. Okay, so we've got 2 wires there, and I'm going to have to strip both of them and then crimp them together in one single molex connector, which I'm hoping is not going to be that hard, but it's definitely different than what we've been doing. So let me kind of, and what I've been having to do is just kind of get the wires free here after I clip them, because they're all kind of wrapped up there in the wire harness. And I think it's working okay. So let's go ahead and strip both of these. And I'm just stripping the wires back about about 1/8 of an inch every time. If you strip them back too far, it just doesn't work as cleanly or smoothly. Okay, so we've stripped both of those wires back, and now we need to crimp those into one single molex pin. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap the 2 wires together, okay, and kind of make them into one wire. And I don't think this is going to be too bad. Okay, so there we go. So let's get our molex pin. And, this is not hard to do. It really isn't. It's just slow going. I actually turned the radio on, some talk radio, and I just kind of just zoning out here and doing it. So, all right, so let's go ahead and take our crimper tool and get it loaded up with our molex pin. Like so. You can see there. It's in there nicely. And let's see how we can do this with 2 wires. We just got a lot of extra. Hopefully that was okay. Trying to see if I got enough of the rubber sheathing. I definitely grabbed the wires. I don't think I grabbed any of the rubber though. I don't think I like that. It's on there pretty good actually. I think that's going to be just fine. Yeah, I think that's good. It actually looks like I crimped only the wire part and not the actual. I didn't grab any of the plastic sheathing, so I think I'm going to redo that one. I haven't had to redo any of these really since I left you guys. It's been going actually pretty smooth. I think the secret here is don't strip too much wire and take your time. So let's try that again. It's just a little uncomfortable here, these weird angles working in the cabinet, but I think if you get a short enough stool, it just kind of makes your life easy. So I'm twisting these wires together, and that lead there is too long. That's too much wire, so I'm going to cut it back so it's a little shorter. That looks pretty good right there. And let's try this again. And we're just going to load our pin in here. Okay, so this time I want to grab some of that sheathing. I think I did. Yeah, I did. That's a good crimp. Look at that. So we've got both wires, the rubber, or vinyl or plastic, whatever it is, the sheathing, and then the wires cramped on the little one down there. So that's a perfect crimp right there. God, this tool is really, it's really making what I used to, you know, kind of hack my way through into a rather professional job. So yeah, I'm going to definitely recommend these molex tools here. So let's go ahead and slide this guy in. And there we go. And you can kind of see my progress there. So I've done quite a bit so far. I've done 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, about 14 of them. So I'm going to keep going. I think we're, I don't know if we're halfway done, but we're getting close. So, all right, I'll be right back. I'm just going to keep snipping and crimping. So, all right, I thought I'd just check in with you guys. I'm about 7/8 of the way there. I've got about 9 more to go, but you can see it's really coming along here, and I'm just doing one at a time, clipping the old ones off here, crimping them to a molex, and moving them over to our new plastic housing. And it's slow going, but it's not hard. It's just, you know, just take your time, keep track of what you're doing, and I think this will be kind of hard to screw up. Definitely having this molex tool has really helped out a lot. So, all right, I'm going to keep going here. Like I said, I got about 9 more to go, and then we'll be back. All right, guys, I have 1 more to go. I thought I would do the last one with you. This has gone actually pretty smoothly. Again, not hard, just time-consuming. So let's kind of review here with the last one. So here's the original molex connector here. You can see all the ones I crimped off. And so we're just going to clip off the old wire. Okay, that's the last one. Look at that. Pretty wild, huh? And you can kind of see the old connector here, the teeth. I don't know if you could tell, but you know, all of these little teeth here look really tarnished. I could see some of them are like pushed in, like they kind of lost their springiness, like you could see there. So yeah, this is definitely a good idea. So let's go ahead now and strip the one we just clipped off. So I'm going to use my wire strippers. And what I'm learning though is that, you know, if you want to basically strip it back a little bit less than 1/8 of an inch or so, because if the wire's too long, it just doesn't really work correctly with the molex pin when you crimp it. Because like I said, you know, there's 2 little sets of tabs on here, and the large set there is basically designed to grab onto the shielding on the wire, and then the small set is designed to grab onto the stripped bare wire. So if the stripped wire is too long, it just starts interfering with everything. So then we take our tool here, and I sit this on the shelf here like so. I clamp it down a little bit to kind of hold it in place. And you can see it kind of looks like that. Because I don't want to smash down the blade, this right here, because this is what makes contact with the PCB. So we're just kind of holding it in place like that. And then we take this and we stick it in here. And I basically stick it in so the shielding is just in there enough to be grabbed by that first fin when we clamp it down. I don't know if you guys can see this here, but I'm sticking it in like so. And then we just kind of clamp it down. And that is a beautiful, yeah, that's good. Is that good? You know, I haven't, oh, this one isn't good at all. This one did not grab the shielding. I'm going to redo that one. And I haven't had to redo many of these, to be honest. I've only probably redid maybe 5 out of the 40 that I did. And I probably could have let them go. They probably were just fine, but I just didn't like. They just didn't look as clean as they can be. Because if it's not really grabbing the sheathing right and it's only grabbing the bare wire, I tended to redo them. Or if I had just way too much wire and it was like both of the fins were grabbing the shielding but not the wire, I don't know. There was a couple like that where I kind of suspected that maybe it wasn't making a good contact. Because what would really suck is after I do this and we power it on and something's not working, because these wires carry everything. the power, the ground, the video signal, the controls, the buttons, and it'd be very easy for one of these not to be working if we didn't have a good connection. And this is actually the last pin, so it looks like they give you about 5 extras on here. 'Cause I'm guessing there was about 5 of them that I had to redo. And I say, you know, don't be afraid to redo your work. If you think it's a little suspect, I always suggest redoing it, because I do that all the time. So, all right, so we're going to stick this in the hole here. I want to make sure we're grabbing the sheathing. And stick it in. I was doing these much faster before. All right, there we go. That looks good. And we got a nice grip on there. And then basically we're going to take this, and we want to make sure the blade is facing the center of the connector. So the blade, let me see if I can zoom in here and show you how the pin, when the pin goes in, what that looks like. Okay, so you can see here, see if we get a focus on that. Come on, focus. Come on. I think I gotta back out a little bit. Okay, so the blade is facing the center there, and it just kind of goes in the hole. You'll hear a click. Usually you'll hear a click. There it is. Okay, so we have done all of them now. And now it's the moment of truth, man. We gotta plug the PCB here. We gotta plug this into the PCB and turn the game on to see if our work was good. I think I'm just gonna kind of just eyeball this real quick, make sure nothing is standing out, no issues. But everything looks pretty good and the way it's supposed to look. I'm also gonna inspect my work here on the bottom, just to make sure nothing looks out of place, and nothing does. And yes, there's some holes here, and those were intentional because not every pin has a wire going to it, so some of them are blank, and you just need to pay attention to that when you're bringing the wire from the old to the new. All right, so let me grab the PCB and bring it over here, because we're ready to give this a shot. So let me get up here and grab that. And I don't think I'm nervous right now. So we'll see what happens. A lot of times when I'm doing this stuff, and when you turn the game on for the first time, it's a little nerve-wracking. So, you know, because you don't know what's going to happen. I'm fairly confident I did a good job there. I got to say, having the right tool to do this was a huge win. So, Arcade Buffett, if you're watching this, I'd like to thank you again for lending me your tool, because that really made my life easy. So, okay, so we're going to go ahead and make our connection at the top of the board with our new edge connector. Okay, I don't know if you can see that. Let me disconnect the camera from the tripod. So we have our new edge connector on there with the part size label. This is the part side of the board. Okay, so we've got our polarity right, and all right, this is it, guys. Let's see what happens. So let's plug the game in, and let's cross our fingers that we did a good job. Okay, it's plugged in, nothing's happening though, because I suspect this, there we go, still have a little bit of hum. Alright, please come up. Alright, good, look at that. So, the video's coming up here. Let's coin up. So, there's still a little bit of hum, which could be the fuses. So, let's go ahead and coin up. Alright, so we know we've done a good job so far. So that button works. Let's see if we have controls. It's not going down. Look at that. it's not going down. Okay, so we have a bad connection here. We don't have down. That's interesting. So it looks like everything's working but down on the joystick. Okay, so what I need to do, I think, is look at the manual and figure out where down is on the harness. So let's see if the two-player button starts. Okay, I would say everything's working except for the down on the joystick. Okay, not the end of the world. I just need to figure out which one of those pins is down and look at it and maybe redo it. So I'm going to turn the game off. And I think what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go look at the pinouts for Pac-Man and figure out which pin is down, and then we're going to look at our work and see if maybe that pin is suspect. I'll be right back. All right, guys, I went on Google here, and I just Googled Pac-Man pinout, and mikesarcade.com, their website came up with the pinout here for Pac-Man, and you can see here that pin 14 on the solder side is player 1 down, okay? So pin 14, solder side, is player 1 down. So we're going to go outside of the garage now and look at pin number 14 because this is the one that we might have not did a great job on. So let's go look at that. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to remove the edge connector from the board, and let's take a look at pin number 14 on the solder side. Which, actually, I want to look at the old connector just to make sure that, so pin 14 should be, if I count from this side here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So it's that red wire right there, okay? That's pin 14, it looks like. Assuming that 1 is on that side. And if I look on the board, actually, no, 1 is not on that side. The board here has where 1 is, and 1's actually on this side over here. So if you look at the board, sometimes it's labeled. So pin 1's on this side, not this side. So pin 14 is actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So it should be this brown wire right here. And it's possible, let me count that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, so it's the brown wire next to the double reds here, and it's this one right here. Okay, so what do I do? And does it look like it's bent or anything? It doesn't. It could have just been a bad crimp. Now, getting these out is a little tricky. All right, so what I did here is I actually yanked this wire out of here and I pulled it through. I took a little nail here and I just pushed it through to the other side. So again, I cut the wire here above the connector and then I pushed it through to the other side with a nail. I don't have the proper tool to do it and it seemed like the best way to handle it. So the wire's out, so I don't know what was wrong with the crimp, but we're just going to re-crimp it. And I'm going to go ahead and strip this. Okay, and I'm going to cut it. You know what? Hey, if I've got one bad crimp out of all of them, I think I'm doing okay. I mean, I crimped like 40 some odd molexes, so if there was one that for whatever reason, it wasn't making contact, I'm okay with that. Alright, so let's take a look. I think that looks pretty good. So this was pin 14. I'm going to just look at the old one here just for reference. So it goes 1, 2, and then I just want to kind of mimic what the old one looked, how the old one looked. And it goes like that. Yep, and that's next to the double wire. And I think that I might have, I really hope I didn't break the housing here. We'll see what happens. It's kind of sitting upright. I might have cracked the plastic a little bit when I put the nail through there. Fortunately, though, there's nothing on the other side opposite of it, so maybe I'll get lucky here. It's definitely going to make contact. I know that. I can tell. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on here. Okay. And let's plug it in, and let's see what happens. All right. I sure hope that we didn't make that worse. All right, the game's up. Now let's clean up. All right, do we have down? We do. All right, so there you go. So for whatever reason, that was just a bad crimp, and we fixed it. And everything's working up, down, left, right. We know the one-player button's working, the video's working, the sound. We've got lights, coin door's working. So I would say that that was a success. So we are now done with that step. That was a very important step there. And so now I think we're going to move on to replacing those fuse blocks, which I'm hoping gets rid of this hum, if you guys can hear that. Oh, you know what? It just turned off because I got this tape on here and it's not just very tight. Because that interlock switch, normally you pull those out and it keeps it on. For whatever reason, that switch is not working right or something. I don't know. But when, you know, because it's normally looking for the back door to be on there to keep it shut and keep the game on. So, all right, so that's done. Let's move on to the fuse blocks. All right, guys, it's actually the next day here, and was just taking a look at the marquee, and so the triple thick has all dried on here, and it has a nice clear protective layer. I don't know if you can see that, but so this is much more durable than it was, and I actually feel quite comfortable handling this any way I want now, because I really feel like that triple thick really protects the original ink. And so we can just kind of throw this on here and look at that. So we have our Pac-Man marquee. So, all right, so again, we're going to move on to the fuses, and this is another thing that I have been looking forward to. What we're going to do here isn't hard at all by any means. It's actually very easy to do, but it's in a really weird, tight spot at the bottom of the cabinet. So the fuse blocks, you know, over time, they go bad. They get corroded. We get some resistance. We get resistance on the connectors there between the fuses, and we get voltage drops. And you can also get some of that AC hum. You can get hum bar. So what we're going to do is, I think what my plan of action here is I'm going to remove the entire bottom transformer assembly from the cabinet, and then we're going to kind of pull it out a little bit and rest it on the edge there. My buddy Adam was over here the other day, and I was telling him, yeah, I got to replace those fuse blocks down there. I'm not looking forward to it because it's inside this hole, you know. So, all right, so I'm going to unplug the game real quick, turn the game off, because we don't want to do this when the game's on. And I think I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the board and all that. So why don't I get the board out, and let's get set up and get this thing out of there. All right, let me kind of talk about real quick what I need to do. This transformer assembly on the bottom of the cabinet, okay? You can see we've got a couple of transformers here. We've got a fuse block, and then we got all this wiring. I have studied this to try to figure out if there was an easy way to disconnect the harness from this so I can basically pull out this whole assembly, and there isn't. There's a couple disconnects here and there, but really, to get this out, I have to remove the entire harness from the cabinet, and I'm just not willing to do that. So what we're going to do, what I'm hoping is I'm going to remove the 4 screws that are holding it to the bottom of the cabinet, okay? And then I'm hoping I can just kind of lift it out and just kind of put it on the edge here, just kind of balance it. Now I noticed this one screw back here is like buried inside the wood, and I don't even know if I can get to this one. No, I can't. I might be able to. All right. Lift this thing out. Yep, and we can. And okay. So I need to figure out a way to balance this on here. And what are we stuck on? It's not too bad. Okay. All right, so let's take a look here. Here's the transformer assembly. And so we basically unscrewed it, and we're balancing it on the back of the cabinet here. Let's just kind of take a peek here. And this is also a really good opportunity to clean the inside of the cabinet too. I really should vacuum this off, and I'm not really too crazy about spraying chemicals on this. I might try to wipe it down a little bit, but here's a transformer assembly. You can see it sticking on the back of the cabinet there. And it was just 4 screws to pull that out, and basically now we can easily, or more easily, get to these fuse blocks. And so we're going to replace this one and that one over there. So let me get my soldering iron, and let's get to work on this. I don't think it's going to be that bad. Now that we've got it out, it's going to be way easier, because just working inside the cabinet would have been just hell. So, all right, be right back. Okay guys, so I got my soldering iron, I got the new fuse holders, so we're going to be replacing this fuse holder right here, and we're also going to be replacing this one right here. Now, when we do this, it's going to be almost kind of similar to when we did the edge connector. I'm going to do one wire at a time, because I don't want to screw up the wiring on these, because that could be very bad actually, because we've got all kinds of different voltages flowing through these, and if we mix them up, it could be actually horrible. So this is really filthy and dirty, and these solder connections are just kind of ugly here. And what we need to do here, basically, let me kind of zoom in to show you, is we need, so if you look over here, we basically need to desolder these wires, okay? We're going to desolder the wires from here, and then solder them onto the new fuse block. So it's actually not a very difficult procedure. The hardest part here was just kind of making access to this panel in an easy way. What I am going to do though is I'm going to throw some flux on all these connections, and this is just cheap Radio Shack flux. Just because this stuff is filthy, and I don't you really should use a brush to do this, but I don't have a brush. So I'm just gonna kind of throw some on here. And the other thing that you really want to do is you want to document what goes where. And I really think that I'm going to take a photograph of the fuses as they are right now before I desolder them. And I'm debating right now if I should unscrew the fuse block and pull it out and then work on it, or leave it where it is and then transfer it to the new and then screw the new one down. There is a label over here that says what fuses go where. So for instance, this is 1.5 amp slow blow, 2 amp slow blow, and 1.5 amp slow blow. So I really need to kind of document that because we want to keep that information alive after we do this. And I'm thinking about taking my label maker and maybe making a new label I can put directly on here that says 1.5 slow. So it goes 1.5, 2, and then 1.5. 1.5 slow, 115 volts. So this is high voltages coming in here. So it's 1.5, 2, and 1.5. And I'm not even sure the right fuses are in here. So what I think I'm going to do here is I'm just going to make a quick label that that says 1, that has the voltage on it. So shift 0.5, and then 2, and then 1.5. And then one thing to note too is that this is a 3-position fuse holder, and our new one is 4. So we're only going to be using part of it. And this isn't going to work, is it? Because we've got these screw holes here. Because I was thinking about putting the label like right here, you know, and which would work, but we have screw holes to deal with, but I could probably screw through this afterwards. Alright, so I'm just gonna, crap, now it's all filthy. So anyway, it's a way of labeling what goes where. So 1.5, 2, 1.5. All right, so let's. I'm gonna pop this out of here. What's interesting too is look at this. You see this? This wire right here is actually tucked into the fuse. It should be right here on this contact. So I think I'm just gonna go ahead and make this my first one. I'm just gonna put this through here and bend it over. And you know, I think I'm just gonna snip these off and not even bother desoldering. I mean, why should I even bother with it? So let me get my side cutters. Yeah, I'll just cut these old ones off. All right, so that one's that, and we'll strip this, and then we're just gonna thread it through our new one. Our new one's nice because it's got a hole in it that we can just bend the wire through and attach it. So. Alright, so that's that. And I'm actually going to take this old fuse out and let's inspect it. So this is supposed to be a 1.5 amp according to the paper. And I'm trying to read it. It's kind of hard to read. And yeah, it looks like it says 1.5. Looks like it says 1 and then 1/2. So we're going to go ahead. You really probably should replace the fuses when you're doing this. I'm going to do that actually. Why dick around? I actually have some new fuses. So it's interesting. The Pac fuse kit actually doesn't have what's rated on here. It comes with 2 amp slow blow, 1 amp fast blow, and 5 amp fast blow, so that's odd. Alright, I guess I'm just gonna reuse this fuse. Okay, so let's go to the next one, and we're just gonna cut this wire. But as you can see, this is actually a pretty simple job. It's just, you know, a lot of this stuff is common sense, really. So you know, it's figuring out the smartest way to do it is usually half the battle. Taking your time is also a big part of this. You know, I kind of get impatient sometimes and just kind of do things too fast. I know that, you know, and that's usually the downfall of this type of stuff here. All right, so let's pop this other fuse out. Now this one's supposed to be a 2 amp. See if I can read that one. Yeah, it's 2 amp. So I do have a brand new 2 amp slow blow, so we're going to use that. So we'll pop a new one in there. And we've got one wire going to the other side. And of course I put the flux on here and it's all over my hands now. Alright, I think I'm just going to solder these 4 leads down real quick since I don't want them to fall off. And, you know, this type of soldering is pretty simple. It's kind of hard to screw it up. It's hard to ruin anything because these parts, we're just soldering the metal. But you probably have to heat it up a little bit more to get it to accept the solder. And I've done videos on soldering, so I mean, definitely check that out. If you guys aren't sure how to solder, that's not going to be the scope of this video. I don't feel like that's working very well. Woo, it's hot. Not really into how that was working. Let's try it again. But I mean, this is basically the gist of what we're doing here. We're just disconnecting the old wires and soldering them to the new fuse block. Making sure that we do everything in the same, put everything in the same location that the old one was in. Make sure we put the right fuses in the right location on the new one. That's really all we're doing here. And I'm just trying to heat this up. And I don't want to melt the. There we go, that's good. Okay, so let's do these other ones. So it gets a little tricky here because it's easy to start melting the plastic on the wire when you're doing these. So I think I'm going to strip these back a little further. So I get more wire on the little hole. You could see they have these little eyelets right there, and we're basically putting the wire through that and then soldering the wire to the metal tab. Okay. And it does require quite a bit of heat to get the solder to suck onto the metal tab, but you'll see it go. Alright. Good. Just kind of wiggling these to make sure that they're good joints. It's kind of hard to tell. Let's get this one. So I think I'm going to do a couple of these with you guys and then I'll cut away. Because this is really rinse and repeat here. So let's go ahead and get this one. And I'm just basically heating the part up, and I'm putting the solder on there, and I'm waiting for the metal tab to kind of suck it up, and you'll see it happen. And that's when you know you've got it hot enough. Okay. And we've got one more here I'll do with you. And I'm just throwing solder on here, and I'm waiting for that metal tab to just kind of suck it up. And you'll see it happen. Okay, so we've got those two done. And if you want to test your work, all you need to do is test continuity between these 2 points. Because if you have continuity between these wires here, you actually probably want to touch the wire. Or touch the top of the solder joint, I guess. Let's try that. So I'm going to take my meter, I'm going to put it on continuity, and so I kind of want to just touch the top of the solder here. And so that means we're good there. So I'm actually touching the top of the solder mound to make sure that that has continuity to the tab. And then also it would have continuity to the wire as well because it's attached to it. So, all right, so those two are good. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to do the rest of them, and then we'll be right back. All right, guys. So I did all the wires here, and I screwed, and right now I'm screwing the new one in, and also my little label here was pointless because I destroyed it. But anyway, what I ended up doing too is I put all 2 amp fuses in here. I actually did a little bit of research, and PAC is supposed to have 3 2 amp slow blow fuses, which is not what this cabinet's label says. And I did some research, and I'm suspecting that at some point they might have switched over to all 2 amp fuses. I don't know. But the paper here says it should be 1.5 amp and 2 amp slow blow, and so I'm gonna go all 2 amp because that's what comes with the kit, and I don't really see any harm, and I really want to have 3 new fuses in here, and so I'm just gonna go with the 3 2 amp slow blow. So there we go. We got the new one screwed in, and that's really it. And we can go ahead and just kind of double check our work here, make sure we've got continuity on all those fuses. And we do. And I'm really more interested in checking the solder joints. So I'm trying to put my meter on the wires and not the actual holder. Okay, so I feel confident that's good. So now we're going to move on to the next one. I think I'm going to kind of do this one off camera because it's going to really be the same process as this. So I'll be back, and I'm going to keep working on this. All right, guys, I'm all done here with the second one, and you can kind of see here what I did. Again, real simple stuff. Just take your time. I disconnected I cut the old wire from the old fuse block, and I moved it over to the new one at a time. Now, this fuse block over here has 2 1 amp fast blow fuses and then 2 5 amp fast blow fuses. Now, I know actually these 2 5 amps here are brand new. I put these in the game when I got it because one of them was missing, and I actually replaced both of them. So those go like that. And then I'm going to put 2 brand new 1 amp fast blow fuses. And I think it's a really good idea here. If you're going to replace these fuse blocks, you probably should put new fuses in at the same time. Because, you know, the old fuses, they actually get corroded. You know, they start losing. Oh, fuck. Ah, look at this. I just broke this fuse. That's all right. I got more of these in the basement. I'm so rough. Okay, so let me go get another 1 amp fast blow fuse because I just broke this one, bonehead. All right, be right back. Okay, I went and got another fuse, and so right now what I want to do is just pull off these old fuses and unscrew the old fuse block, and then we're going to screw the new one in its place. But again, this isn't that hard. You know, the hardest part here was just figuring out a way to work on this. I'm really glad that the cables actually reached and I was able to pull the bottom of the cabinet out like this and just kind of rest it on the edge here. So here's our old holder. Yeah, you can kind of see it. It's got corrosion, and you know it's turning that kind of green copper color in spots. So hopefully this new fuse holder here will improve things for us, and hopefully, I pray, it gets rid of that hum. Alright, so let's go ahead and just screw this new guy in. I'm gonna reuse. Okay, let's pop our fuses back in. So this is a 1 amp, and this is 5 amp. Right? Am I doing that right? Let's take a look at these here. F5. So this is 5 amp. And this should be 5 amp also. Yep. And then these two here should each be 1 amp. Oh my god, these are some cheap ass fuses. Look, I just broke this fuse. What the hell? Alright, I'll go get some more. Let me double check this. Yeah, 1 amp. Alright, let me go grab another 1 amp fuse to replace with that one I just broke again. What are the frickin' odds? Okay, so I'll replace that in a second. What I want to do now, since we got this game open, is I want to replace the power cord. Because I bought a brand new power cord here from Bob Roberts. It's a Miss Pac 8-foot AC line cord. And we've got it out here, and this is going to be really easy to do. It already has the molex connector on it, so it's plug and play, right? And since we got all of this out, the plug is actually right here. So this is going to be really simple. We have to undo this first. So let's undo the molex connector right here. Okay. And it's tied in a knot. I'm not sure why, but probably so it can't get through that. Let's undo this little wire tie. Okay. And so here's the old one. We can now just throw that away. And the old one was actually pretty bad. It was bad shape. I don't like these ones that are kind of like lamp cords or something. They're just not, they don't feel very insulated or very thick, you know. These are crap. I don't kind of trust that kind of stuff in my house. So, and it had a knot in it, which I'm guessing was so that you couldn't get it past this nut, this wire holder. So I guess I'll just do the same thing. Why not? And go like that, and let's get our screw and screw this back down. So that's it. That's all it takes to replace the cord on a Pac-Man. And we just plug this in like so. Right? Is that how it goes? Yep. That's it. So now we've got a brand new cord installed on Pac-Man, and it's a more modern style cord, which is probably a little safer. And nice grounded plug. So, all right, so that's that. All right, so what do we need to do now? Well, we're pretty much done for today. We should test this to make sure it's working. I would like to clean this up since I can. Since I got everything out of here now, it'd be nice to clean this. It would be nice to clean this up. I should vacuum this a little bit and maybe carefully spray it with Simple Green. The right thing to do right now, and I honestly, you know what, I'm not going to do it, is to remove all these components and clean this piece of wood. Or replace the piece of wood with a new piece of wood. To be honest, I don't really want to do it. I'm going to clean it up and make it look nice and not gross. We'll vacuum it and all that. So let me get my vacuum and some cleaning supplies and let's clean it up a little bit. Alright guys, we're all done. I got the transformer assembly screwed back in the bottom. We have the new fuse holders, the new cord. We cleaned it up a little bit. It's still a little dusty, but it's a lot better than it was. I also took the opportunity here to vacuum out the bottom, and I just installed the PCB back in. So why don't we plug it in and see if our fuse work was successful here. And we're going to be plugging this into the new cord, which is exciting, right? So let's plug this in. And, oh, listen to that. I hear the damn hum still. So, alright, well, hey, the game's working. Still have a little bit of that hum, that little AC hum there. And, that could be a board issue maybe, huh? I don't know if I'm ever going to get rid of that. I have a few games in the basement that just hum. And I've never been able to get rid of it. And it's one of those things that you really don't tend to notice when it's on and when it's in the basement with all the other games. But, so, alright, well, our fuse swap was a success. Game still works. So I think that's it. I think we're done for this restoration video, part number 5. And we actually did a lot because now the game, in my opinion, is bulletproofed, okay? We've replaced the molex edge connector, we've replaced the fuse blocks. Those right there are the top 2 problematic parts of this game, and so that's done. We've also addressed the marquee in this video, and we put a new cord on there, so I feel like we're at a good spot right now to quit. The next videos now are going to be all restoration. We're going to be making this game look pretty because now it is electronically sound and probably going to be very reliable now because we've done all this stuff. So, all right, guys, that's it. Why don't we go back down to the basement? But I think this is really coming along here. And I got to say, seeing the new marquee on there makes me feel pretty good. It looks so much more legit. And when we get this thing all together, oh my god, I can't wait. So, all right, guys, let's go back down to the basement. There you guys have it. That was part number 5 of the Pac-Man Cabaret restoration. And you know what? I'm pretty darn happy where I am right now because you know what? That game's going to be rock solid for a long time because I took care of 2 of the most problematic aspects of that game, that damn edge connector and that fuse block. So anyway, there you have it. You know what, guys? If you've never subscribed to my channel, now is a great time to do so. Go ahead and click that subscribe button. You know, I release new videos every Sunday and sometimes in between. And you know what? you really need to subscribe to keep up with the videos. If you made it this far in the video, you know what, pal? You need to subscribe. I mean, if you're that hardcore into this stuff, you've watched an hour and a half of this video, go ahead, click subscribe. That way you can keep up with all of my videos. Okay, guys, I think that's it for this video. Check out my podcast, Arcade Outsiders, arcadeoutsiders.com, and Video Game Outsiders at videogameoutsiders.com. And that's it for me, guys. I will see you next time. Later.